The lecture hall fell silent as Professor Velkris adjusted his translation implant, tapping the podium with one of his 6 fingers. 300 species sat before him in the Galactic Academy's largest auditorium, waiting for the mandatory course on humanity, the newest member of the Intergalactic Council. Death, Velkris began, his voice echoing through the chamber, is what all sentient beings fear. It is the ultimate ending, the final darkness. The Athraxian student in the 3rd row raised a tentacle. Professor, I heard humans are different. Velkris's facial flaps twitched with what could only be described as suppressed amusement. Oh, you sweet, innocent spawn. Different does not even begin to cover it. He pulled up a holographic display, showing a standard human, approximately 1.8 meters tall, mostly water, calcium framework, embarrassingly fragile. The gathered students nodded. They had all seen the initial reports. Humans seemed, well, unremarkable. No natural armor, no venom sacs, no ability to survive vacuum, no redundant organs except for kidneys, which honestly seemed like a design flaw since everything else was a single point of failure. When the Council first encountered humanity, Velkris continued, pressing a button that brought up star charts. We assumed they would be cautious. After all, they had only just discovered faster than light travel. Their lifespans are shockingly brief, between 70 to 100 rotations. They can die from falling down, eating the wrong plant, or even, and I am not making this up, from emotions. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Surely, a Mordelian wheezed from her breathing apparatus. They must treasure their fragile existence. Velkris's expression shifted to something between horror and admiration. That is what we all thought. That is what every single species in this hall assumed when we sent our cultural ambassadors to observe human behavior. He paused for dramatic effect. We were catastrophically wrong. The hologram shifted to show a video feed, date stamped from 2 cycles ago. A human male, designation Marcus Hall, stood on something called a motorcycle, a 2-wheeled death trap that apparently needed constant balance to avoid crashing. This recording, Velkris said slowly, was submitted by Ambassador Crix after his first week on Earth. He titled his report, Emergency Psychological Evaluation Required. The humans are broken. The video played. Marcus Hall was speaking to another human, a female named Katie Brennan, who held a beverage container. You cannot jump that, Katie said, gesturing at a ramp that pointed toward a gap between 2 buildings. Marcus grinned. Actually grinned. Hold my beer. Katie took the beverage. Marcus accelerated toward the ramp. Every single student in the lecture hall leaned forward. The Vrelian in the front row covered her visual organs. The motorcycle launched into the air, sailing across a gap that was, according to the display measurements, 12.3 meters wide. The vehicle landed on the opposite building's rooftop, bounced twice, and Marcus raised both arms in triumph, nearly losing control before stabilizing. He survived, someone shouted from the back. Yes, Velkris replied, his tone dry enough to desiccate a small moon. He survived. Would you like to know what he said when he returned to retrieve his beer? The students waited. He said, that was sick. Let us do it again, but blindfolded this time. Silence. Pure, unfiltered silence that a Keltorian medical student stood up, their scales shifting to a distressed purple. Professor, with respect, that human clearly suffered from a cognitive disorder. Surely this was an isolated incident of mental dysfunction. Velkris pulled up another file. And another. And another. The holographic display split into hundreds of screens, each showing a different human doing something absolutely unhinged. Humans jumping from aircraft for recreation. Humans climbing vertical rock faces without safety equipment. Humans diving into water from heights that should liquefy organs. Humans wrestling predators. Humans eating capsaicin, a literal poison, for fun. The phrase, Velkris said, his voice taking on the weight of someone who had seen too much, is hold my beer. It is a statement humans make before attempting something monumentally stupid, unnecessarily dangerous, or outright suicidal. Ambassador Crix documented 4,732 instances in his first month alone. In one city. Professor Velkris dimmed the lecture hall lights, and the holographic displays intensified. A new video loaded, this one labeled Event Horizon Festival, Australia Sector, Earth. Now, Velkris said, his voice dropping to what humans might call a whisper, let me tell you about recreational activities. The screen showed thousands of humans gathering in a desert landscape, temperatures reading 43 degrees Celsius. Lethal to most species. Uncomfortable even for humans. Yet there they were, smiling. This, Velkris gestured broadly, is what humans call a music festival. They pay currency to stand in hostile environments, consume ethanol until their cognitive functions deteriorate, and subject themselves to sound waves at volumes that cause permanent auditory damage. A Zypherian student raised a claw. But professor, why would they damage themselves intentionally? An excellent question that I have been asking myself for 2 cycles, Velkris replied. The answer, as near as we can determine, is because it is awesome. He pronounced the last word with visible difficulty, as if the concept itself resisted translation. The video continued. A human male, designation Trevor Hicks, stood atop a makeshift tower constructed from shipping containers. Below him, an inflatable cushion that looked, frankly, insufficient for the fall distance. Watch carefully, Velkris instructed. This moment has been analyzed by the Galactic Safety Commission 17 times. Trevor turned to his companion. Hold my beer, Danny. Mate, Danny replied, taking the beverage. You are going to break your legs. Probably. Trevor agreed cheerfully, then jumped. The collective intake of breath from 300 species created a small pressure change in the auditorium. Trevor fell, spinning in mid-air, arms spread wide, before hitting the cushion with an impact that the sensors calculated at enough force to fracture bones in 87% of known species. Trevor bounced once, twice, then stood up, raised both arms, and shouted something that the translator rendered as, "Who wants to go next?" 12 humans immediately volunteered. Ambassador Crix, Velkris continued, pulling up a formal report, wrote the following in his official documentation. I quote, I have concluded that humans do not fear death. They actively pursue it, then laugh when they survive. Request immediate extraction. My psychological stability is compromised. I have started saying hold my beverage before minor tasks. The infection is spreading. Nervous laughter rippled through the students. A brave Cortellian spoke up. Surely, Professor, these are outliers? Statistical anomalies? Every species has individuals with reduced survival instincts. Velkris's facial flaps fluttered in what his students had learned meant deep amusement. Oh, my naive pupil. Let me introduce you to what humans call sports. The hologram shifted to show a frozen lake. Humans were skating on it, the ice approximately 15 centimeters thick. Beneath it, water cold enough to induce thermal shock and death within minutes. Ice hockey, Velkris announced. Humans strap blades to their feet, arm themselves with sticks, and attempt to hit a rubber disc into a goal, while other humans actively try to physically stop them. Fighting is considered part of the game. Losing teeth is so common they have replacement procedures standardized. That seems dangerous, someone muttered. That is the recreational version, Velkris said. Would you like to see their professional combat sports? He did not wait for an answer. The screen split into multiple feeds. Boxing, where humans punched each other in the head until someone could not continue. Mixed martial arts, where humans grappled and struck each other in a cage. Rugby, where humans in minimal padding collided at full speed, no protective gear for their heads. And then, Velkris said, his voice rising, there is American football, where humans wear armor because the collisions are so violent that without protection they would simply die on the field. The armor does not prevent injury. It merely reduces the death rate to acceptable levels. What is an acceptable level? A student asked, horrified. According to humans? Not zero, Velkris replied. Which brings me to the incident that truly made the Galactic Council realize what we were dealing with. The incident that Ambassador Crix now refers to only as the day I understood. The video feed changed to show a different setting. A bar, somewhere in a place called Montana. 3 humans sat around a table, beverages in hand. One of them, identified as Gordon Walsh, was gesturing animatedly. No way, said his companion, Jules Martinez. That is impossible. Gordon grinned. That particular expression that every species had learned meant trouble. Hold my beer. What happened next would be analyzed in xenopsychology courses for generations. Gordon walked outside to where a large mammal, designated as a bison, stood grazing. The creature massed approximately 800 kilograms, possessed horns, and had a documented history of killing humans who approached incorrectly. Gordon approached it anyway. The lecture hall remained absolutely silent as Gordon Walsh approached the bison. Every student, from every species, watched with the kind of horrified fascination normally reserved for natural disasters. "What you need to understand," Professor Velkris said, his voice barely above a whisper, "is that Ambassador Crix was present for this event. He was conducting field research at this exact establishment." He described what happened next as the moment his entire understanding of sentient behavior collapsed. The video continued. Gordon reached the bison. The massive creature turned, snorted, pawed the ground. Every species in the hall recognized threat display behavior. Gordon, apparently, did not care. "Hey buddy," Gordon said cheerfully, then attempted to climb onto the animal's back. What followed was approximately 45 seconds of chaos. The bison bucked, twisted, spun in circles. Gordon held on, one hand gripping fur, the other raised high in the air. He was laughing. Actually laughing while a creature capable of trampling him attempted to dislodge him violently. Finally, Gordon flew off, landed in a heap, rolled twice, then stood up. His clothing was torn, he was bleeding from a scrape on his arm, and he was grinning wider than before. "Did you get that on video?" he shouted to his friends. "Posted it already." Jules called back. "You have got 300 likes." Velkris paused the video. Ambassador Crix reported that he approached Gordon immediately, medical scanner in hand, expecting to find severe internal damage, psychological break, something to explain this behavior. Gordon's vital signs were elevated but normal. His brain chemistry showed excitement, pleasure, satisfaction. He was, by all measurements, happy. A Felician student raised both heads. "Professor, I do not understand. Why would pain and near-death experience produce happiness?" "Because," Velkris said slowly, "humans evolved on a death world. Earth is classified as a Class 12 hazard planet. Everything there is trying to kill everything else. The weather is trying to kill them. The plants are trying to kill them. The animals are absolutely trying to kill them. Invisible organisms are trying to kill them. Their own food can kill them if prepared incorrectly. Even their star is trying to kill them with radiation." He pulled up Earth's classification file, and gasps echoed through the hall as the casualty statistics scrolled past. "Humans," Velkris continued, "developed on a world so hostile that their primary survival strategy became, and I am quoting the xenobiology report here, aggressive stupidity combined with pattern recognition and spite. They survived by being too stubborn to die and too curious to stop trying dangerous things." Another video loaded. A human female, designation Lisa Park, stood at the edge of a cliff wearing a suit with fabric panels between her limbs. "This is called wingsuit flying," Velkris explained. Humans jump off mountains wearing fabric, glide through the air at speeds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour, mere meters from rock faces, then deploy a parachute at the last possible moment. The mortality rate is approximately 1 death per 500 jumps. "And they do this voluntarily?" someone asked, voice shaking. "They pay currency for the privilege," Velkris confirmed. "Now watch." Lisa turned to the camera operator. "Hold my beer, Jack. I am going through the slot canyon." She jumped. The camera followed as she dove off the cliff, fabric snapping taut, then maneuvered between rock formations with less than 2 meters of clearance on either side. At velocities that would turn a collision into pink mist, she survived, landed safely. Immediately asked, "Can we go again?" The human response to danger, Velkris said, bringing up psychological profiles, is not caution. It is excitement. Their brains reward risk-taking behavior with pleasure chemicals. Ambassador Crix theorized this is because the cautious humans died out early in their evolution, leaving only the ones crazy enough to fight back against a hostile universe. A new video appeared. A human male, Tommy Valdez, standing beside a tank of water with a sign reading, "Danger, electric eels inside." "Oh no," a student whispered. "Oh yes," Velkris replied. Tommy looked at his friends. "Hold my beer, Carlos. I bet I can catch one bare-handed." "Tommy, those things discharge 600 volts. Carlos protested. "Only if I make them mad," Tommy said, already reaching into the tank. What followed was Tommy being shocked, yelling, pulling his hand back, then trying again with a different technique. On the fourth attempt, he successfully grabbed an eel, lifted it out of the water while it discharged electricity through his body, held it up like a trophy while his muscles spasmed involuntarily, then carefully placed it back. Why? He was asked afterward by a very concerned aquarium staff member. Because it was there, Tommy replied, as if this explained everything. Velkris turned to face his students directly. The phrase, "because it was there," is reportedly why humans climbed their highest mountain, Everest. A mountain so tall and hostile that over 300 humans have died attempting to reach its summit. Bodies remain frozen on its slopes, used as landmarks by other climbers. And yet, every year, more humans pay enormous amounts of currency for the opportunity to risk death climbing it. He pulled up statistics. Extreme sports participation rates, 47% of the human population. Recreational vehicle accident rates, climbing every cycle. Insurance claims for preventable injuries sustained during fun activities, in the billions. But Professor, a timid voice called out, surely their government tries to stop this behavior. Velkris laughed. Actually laughed, a sound that made several students jump. Their governments have entire agencies dedicated to managing human recklessness. Rules, regulations, warning signs everywhere. And humans see these warnings as challenges. There are compilation videos titled, "Hold My Beer" moments with billions of views. Billions. They celebrate this behavior. They are proud of it. The hologram shifted one final time, showing Ambassador Crix's final report from Earth. Professor Velkris's expression softened as he pulled up Ambassador Crix's final transmission. The ambassador appeared on screen, looking exhausted but somehow amused, sitting in what appeared to be a human dwelling with safety posters visible behind him. This recording, Velkris said quietly, was sent 3 days before Ambassador Crix requested permanent assignment to Earth. Yes, you heard correctly. After everything he witnessed, he chose to stay. The hologram flickered to life. Ambassador Crix spoke directly to the camera, his translation implant rendering his words in standard galactic. "I have spent 6 months among humans," Crix began, "and I finally understand what we got wrong. We assumed humans do not fear death. That assessment is incorrect. They fear death just as much as any of us. Perhaps more, because it comes for them so easily, so quickly, so permanently." Velkris paused the video. Pay attention to what he says next. This is critical. The video resumed. "The difference is not that humans lack fear. The difference is what they do with that fear. They look at death, acknowledge it exists, then decide to live anyway. Not carefully, not timidly, but loudly, boldly, stupidly, magnificently. They know they are fragile, so they refuse to waste a single moment being cautious." A new clip played. A human child, maybe 8 cycles old, designation Maya Okonkwo, stood at the top of a rope course. She was clearly frightened, trembling slightly. Her parents stood below, encouraging her. "I am scared," Maya called down. "I know, sweetheart," her mother replied. "Do it anyway." Maya took a breath, then stepped onto the first rope, made it across, then the next obstacle, and the next. When she reached the end, she was crying and laughing simultaneously, an emotional combination that still baffled xenopsychologists. That phrase, Velkris said, his voice thick with something approaching respect, is perhaps the most human thing ever spoken. "I am scared. Do it anyway." It is their entire philosophy condensed into 4 words. He pulled up medical records, incident reports, survival statistics. Humans have walked on their moon, knowing the journey could kill them. They have descended to the deepest parts of their oceans in vessels that could implode. They have split atoms, created artificial intelligence, and genetically modified their own crops despite not fully understanding the consequences. They do these things not because they are unafraid, but because they refuse to let fear stop them. A Corthan student stood, all 4 arms crossed. "But Professor, this behavior is illogical. Reckless. How did they survive long enough to develop space travel?" "Because," Velkris replied, bringing up humanity's history files, "that same recklessness is also courage. The same impulse that makes Tommy grab an electric eel made his ancestors fight predators 10 times their size. The same stupidity that makes Gordon ride a bison made his ancestors domesticate wolves into dogs, ride horses, sail across unknown oceans. The same foolishness that makes humans jump off cliffs in wingsuits made them build flying machines when everyone said it was impossible. He pulled up the final video. A space station, human-built, orbiting their planet. Inside, a crew of mixed species worked together. A human engineer, designation Parker Webb, floated in zero gravity, repairing a critical life support system. The repair required him to go outside the station, into the vacuum of space, with only a thin suit between him and instant death. Before exiting the airlock, Parker turned to his Vrelian colleague, Mixter, and handed over a beverage pouch. "Hold my juice box," Parker said with that characteristic grin. "I am going to fix this." "Parker," Mixter replied, voice shaking. "The radiation levels out there are elevated. You could reduce your lifespan. You could die." Parker's expression shifted to something serious, just for a moment. "Yeah, I know. But if I do not fix it, we all die. So hold my juice box. I will be back in 20 minutes. He was back in 18. Repair completed. Humming a tune the entire time according to his suit recorder, Velkris stopped the presentation and faced his students. That is what we misunderstood about humans. Yes, they say hold my beer before doing monumentally stupid things. They take unnecessary risks, seek out danger, laugh in the face of death. But when it actually matters, when lives are on the line, that same crazy courage becomes heroism. He pulled up casualty reports from the Battle of Sector 9, when a Krellian colony came under attack by raiders. Human ships arrived first. Outgunned, outmatched, facing certain destruction. They did not retreat. They did not wait for reinforcements. They charged in, and do you know what the commanding officer said? The students waited. She said, "Hold my coffee, we are going in hot." 17 human ships against 47 raiders. They won. Took horrific casualties, but they won, and saved 200,000 Krellian civilians. Velkris's facial flaps drooped in what his students recognized as profound emotion. Ambassador Crix concluded his report with this statement: "Humanity is not broken. Humanity is not defective. Humanity is terrifying and inspiring in equal measure. They are reckless because life is short. They are brave because fear is real. They are foolish because wisdom sometimes means taking risks others would not. And they are the best allies we could possibly have, because when the universe says no, humans here try harder." The hologram showed one final image. A plaque mounted on the human embassy wall, engraved with words in their language. The translation appeared beneath: "To absent friends, lost ships, and the hope that we will meet again. We fear death, we respect danger, but we refuse to stop living. Hold our beer, universe. We are going to do something amazing." Professor Velkris closed the presentation. That, students, is humanity. They assumed we thought they feared nothing. The truth is simpler and far more profound. They fear everything, just like we do. They simply refuse to let that fear win. Class dismissed. And please, do not attempt anything you have seen today. You are not human. You have not spent millions of cycles evolving aggressive stupidity into an art form. As the students filed out, chattering in dozens of languages, a few looked at the holographic images of humans with new understanding. Not as reckless fools, but as something far more complex. Something that looked at a hostile universe and said, with absolute conviction, "Bring it on." Somewhere on Earth, a human named Jessica Lynn stood at the edge of a bungee platform, 700 meters above a canyon. She turned to her friend, handed over her water bottle, and spoke those immortal words: "Hold my beer," and jumped, screaming with joy all the way down, because that is what humans do. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.